It is time for an end of the year Q&A. So I asked you guys over on my Instagram for some questions and you guys delivered, to say the least. So let's go ahead and just get into it. Do you have any brothers? I don't. I have 2 younger sisters. I'm the oldest of 3. What's your workout split / routine? I just honestly started getting into consistently working out this year. Typically, I try and go every day that I can. I don't have like a set schedule because I've learned with myself that a set schedule doesn't really work. It's just best if I just take it day by day. So I try to go every day, and the days that I can't fit it into my schedule, I just don't go. And usually I end up going around 4 to 5 times a week, which I feel like is pretty good. I do the same thing every time I go because I don't have set days where I go and set times. It's a little bit harder to like focus on a specific split because I know some people will do like upper body, lower body certain days. I just keep it really simple for myself and have honestly made a routine based on like what I enjoy doing at the gym and what works for me. So I'll usually do 30 minutes of cardio and then I'll do 45 minutes of strength training. I hated cardio. I've always hated cardio, but this summer I've really just learned to find cardio that works for me and that I enjoy. So I'll typically do the elliptical for 30 minutes and I'll put the resistance up so that I'm getting a little bit of resistance in that. And then I'll do 45 minutes of strength training, which I enjoy. I really like strength training. I'm not out here lifting really heavy weights, but I enjoy it. I find it fun. I listen to my podcasts. It's my podcast time. I get to catch up on my subscription box while I'm in the elliptical. And I've learned to really enjoy it and just honestly look forward to it in my day. That's the most important thing with building a consistent workout routine, is just finding what works for you and finding what you enjoy and look forward to. So it's a lot easier to fit into your schedule. What's your favorite traditional dish? Probably chebojen. I love chebojen. It's a classic. I know other West African countries call it jollof rice. It's kind of a little bit different from jollof rice because we use like jasmine broken rice, so it's a finer grain of rice. And I've also noticed that we do a little bit more toppings than at least the Nigerian kind. I haven't tried any of the other West African ones. How's the post-grad transition? Surprisingly, I feel like I kind of transitioned into post-grad life really easily. I feel like I talk about this topic a lot over on my podcast, disclaimers aside, so if you guys want to hear just more in depth about how I'm feeling, I would definitely recommend listening to those episodes. But I'm in this very transitional period. I'm like studying for the LSAT, working on my law school applications. It's definitely a very non-traditional post-grad era, to say the least, but I feel like I've made my peace with it, and I feel like it has honestly just been a period that I needed. Going into post-grad, I would have never expected my post-grad era to look like this, but I've been realizing recently like this is exactly what I needed, and I'm so grateful for this era. What's the skincare routine? I showed my skincare routine in a vlog recently. When it comes to skincare, I just find the products that I like and I use the same products over and over and over again. So my skincare routine hasn't changed in the past 2 to 3 years, but the quick rundown is I use the Neutrogena Hydro Boost cleanser. I like a gentle cleanser. I like to use the ordinary niacinamide serum. Niacinamide is mandatory for me in my skincare routine because it helps reduce pores and just like control oil production. I go in with CeraVe's moisturizer, just a gentle moisturizer. It's for normal to dry skin. And then usually I'll use whatever topicals. In the mornings, I'll go in with the La Roche-Posay benzoyl peroxide topical. And at night, I'll go in with a little bit of tretinoin. But I don't use tretinoin every night because I'm on the kind of maintenance phase. Usually I'll do tretinoin every other night or once every 3 nights. But honestly, I understand the struggle with skincare because I went through the rabbit hole of trying to figure out what worked for years. And to be honest, I didn't get my skin under control until I went to the dermatologist. So if you can afford it, it's definitely a privilege. But if you can afford it, I definitely recommend because they're honestly so helpful and they will tell you exactly like what you need to do to fix your skin. When do you visit Senegal? I've never been to Senegal, but it has been one of my top countries that I've wanted to visit. It's literally right there. Technically, I've been to Senegal because my mom is from baa.aissata, which borders with Senegal. There's like a river that you can cross in baa.aissata to get to Senegal. So I've landed in Senegal, but I've never actually visited Senegal properly. It's a place that I definitely want to travel to. I feel like there's so much history and culture, and also just the idea of exploring other West African countries that are not Mauritania seems so exciting. It feels like I've traveled a lot, but really when I think about it, it's mainly been just going to Mauritania over the summer, which alhamdulillah, I am happy that we went to Mauritania so often growing up because I think that was really important for us to like stay connected to our culture and our family. But now that I'm older, I want to try traveling to different countries and like take advantage, especially when going to Mauritania, because there's no direct flight to go to Mauritania. You have to go through other countries anyways to check out other countries. So inshallah, that's definitely on the bucket list, and hopefully soon we'll be able to make it to Senegal. Can we get a restock for the sold out Mishwara hijabs? They be selling out so fast. The situation on restocks for Mishwara is that we will hopefully have some restocks coming soon of some of the hijabs. I know a lot of people have been asking about hijabs from the original collection, and we're working on restocking some of them. We can't guarantee restocks of any designs that we drop after they sell out, just because these are not manufactured in a factory. They're handmade and hand done by like individual dyers in Mauritania, and the dyeing process is very particular, unique process, so it's really hard to replicate things, which you guys might have seen with Seti Babi, the original volume, and then Seti Babi volume 2. The dyeing was slightly different, but that is just kind of a part of Mishwara and Mishwara's story, is that we're really focused on sustainability and honestly just selling scarves that are very handcrafted. Like each hijab is very unique and handcrafted, kind of like what it's like when you're back home going to the markets and you find a hijab that speaks to you in a market. It's like when you buy that one hijab, like maybe there's 5 other people in the world that have that same hijab as you. Or if you're at a Sunday flea market, it's like everything is very handcrafted. I feel like that's a part of fashion that I miss in a lot of ways. I definitely feel like just with fast fashion and the way that fashion has evolved with the internet and all of that, we are just kind of shifting away from individuality. And I think part of what Mishwara is really trying to do is to bring back the unique aspect of fashion. So having said that, there are no guarantees for any styles being restocked, but we are trying to do our best. We want to listen to you guys. So if you guys see a style or a hijab that you want to see restocked, DM us, comment. We really appreciate when you guys do that, just because it helps us understand like what are some of the ones that you want to bring back, and inshallah we will bring back whatever hijabs that we possibly can in the future, even if they look just slightly different. What digital cameras do you use for your photos for Mishwara? I actually have gotten a couple DMs and questions about like what camera we use, who we hire as a photographer, just a little bit about the process in terms of production and content creation and all the creative stuff for Mishwara. So we actually do everything ourselves. It's just me and my 2 sisters that run the whole thing top to bottom. We use my sister's camera, the Canon G7X Mark II. It used to be my old vlogging camera that I gave to her before I realized that you could take really nice photos on it. And yes, now that it's sold out everywhere, people always ask me, do you regret giving it to her? Every single day. You best believe I regret giving it to her. But we use that camera for Mishwara. That's also the camera that I use a lot of the times whenever I post photos that tend to look a little bit more like they're taken on a digital camera. It's usually that camera. All like my Eid photos and everything are taken on that camera. It takes such nice photos. I don't know who did this, but it went viral on TikTok like a year ago, and ever since it's been like sold out everywhere. I went to a camera store in San Diego over the summer to see if they had any like resale ones, because I think right now the only ones you can find are resale, but like people hike up the price to such an insane degree. And the guy was saying that there's currently a shortage in all of North America, so you can't find it at any retail store in North America. I have no idea when it's going to come back. I really think Canon should come out with a digital camera, because so many people want this camera. I feel like they should take the aspects of the Canon G7X that take such good photos and make it into a compact digital camera. Like that would sell out like crazy, and I would be the first person to buy it. It's a really nice camera. Sometimes you have to play around with the settings a little bit because it's a little bit older. My parents got it for me for my 17th birthday. That was my first camera, so it honestly has like a special place in my heart. That's what we use to take the photos. We don't edit or like adjust any of the colors on everything. It really is just like the camera itself that does all that work, and then you know, the lighting and everything. But it's an amazing camera. It's definitely my favorite camera on the market. I think it's worth every single penny, except when you're buying it from a reseller. Are you married? 3 people asked me this actually. I am fully single. Honestly, just not at that stage of my life right now. I feel like people are curious about this because a lot of young Muslim girls on the internet are getting married, and it's been just something we've seen a lot on social media. I think people are on different paths, different journeys. And right now I'm just in the phase of my life, in the era of my life where I'm really just trying to focus on myself, to really just grow as a person, like I'm just at a stage where I really need to focus on like my career and just growing as a person too, you know, working on myself, strengthening my deen, working to become like my highest self, because I do believe that you enter marriage as someone who is like fully actualized and the best version of yourself that you can possibly be, so that you can come into that just a fully mature and actualized person. You can bring your best version of yourself into that. I also just don't feel any pressure or rush either. I know there can be a lot of pressure or rush for girls in their early 20s, and also just being Mauritanian, like culturally a lot of Mauritanian girls get married very, very young. That's something that just is not a pressure that's been put on me by my parents, alhamdulillah. Thankfully, my parents have always been like, work on yourself, focus on yourself, and you know, when that time comes, that time comes. And I think that's kind of the mindset that I personally have, and I think is a very healthy mindset to have. It's easy to definitely feel the pressure of it from social media and seeing like all of the romanticized versions of it. One, you are getting kind of a romanticized, idealized version of marriage on social media. You're just getting the highlight reels of everything. But also too, it's like you're not going to experience like the sweet aspects of that until you're fully ready. If you rush into it, if you go into it because you're being pressured by X, Y, and Z, you're not going to experience sweet aspects of it. Seeing my parents' example has really raised my standards for it. It's something that like when the time comes, I definitely don't want to rush into that decision, and just make sure that I'm making the decision because I'm ready, because I found the right person, and because it feels right. What's your favorite podcast episode you've recorded? Definitely the podcast episode with my mom. I was actually listening back to it this week, and I just wish that with that episode, I had just gone straight into the interview instead of recording that long intro beforehand. That's something I used to do all the time with guests, is like I would have this like long introduction before getting into the actual conversation. When I'm listening to podcasts, I just want people to get straight into it, you know? But other than that long intro, that is probably one of my favorite podcast episodes that I've recorded. I want to record with my mom again. She actually said she would be down to record, but I think we're probably going to do like an advice style session episode, because she has such good advice. Over the years, I feel like she's always given me really, really good advice on any like life problems that I have, and she's just a wise person in general, and she's really funny. So we definitely want to do that. Like I feel like it'd be fun to like read scenarios and everything. That'll be season 4. So in 2025, stay tuned for that, because I'll probably ask you guys over on Instagram for your guys's questions and things that you want advice on. But I also want to record with my dad, because I feel like he would be such an amazing guest, and I've been begging him for 2 years to come onto the podcast, but he's a very private person. So it's a work in progress, but inshallah, I'll have my dad on the podcast. I feel like recording with family members is always really fun. I love just like being able to just learn more about their story and be able to like tell their story too, because it's really interesting. And that's something that I've realized recently is like, while your family members are alive, especially your older family members, it's so important to like ask them about their life and just learn more about their life story, because you will find that they have such incredible stories to tell and such incredible wisdom. How do you keep up with content creation? It definitely can be very difficult to keep up with like all of the different platforms, and I experienced burnout like anyone else. Like I was even just recording the finale of this season for Disclaimers Aside last night, and I was talking about how I've definitely fallen off the wagon with podcasting because I experienced major creative burnout, specifically when it came to podcasting, which is difficult because it's literally just me. So if I am going through a period of burnout, like I'm the only one who can, you know, hop on the mic and record to preserve what Disclaimers Aside is as a space. And because I care so much about like the intention behind why I started it, I took a step back when I wasn't feeling like I had anything on my mind to say. There were, you know, a couple weeks where I wasn't recording episodes. I think a good month and a half where I didn't release a single episode. I just had like, was just going through so much creative burnout. Podcasting especially, because it really does come from, you know, my own thoughts and reflections. And I also just don't want the podcast to be super repetitive in terms of like the content that I'm posting here on YouTube or the content that I'm posting on Instagram or TikTok. I want it to kind of be its own space. And a lot of the conversations that I have on Disclaimers Aside, maybe I touch on it in a vlog or two, but like a lot of the times they're expanding beyond things that I would talk about here or on other social media platforms. It was really important for me to take a break when I felt like I needed to take a break. And I think in general this year, that's something that I've become a lot more comfortable with, because I've always had the mindset of like, no, consistency is so important. Consistency is important. And just because I could hypothetically film and put together a video in a week, that doesn't mean that I actually have to or that I should. I shouldn't be forcing myself to create content when it doesn't feel genuine and authentic and it's not something that I'm proud of. And that's something that I've really wanted to focus on with my content this year, is really just being a lot more intentional about what I'm posting. Even when it comes to my vlogs, like there was a shift after I graduated where I decided, you know what, these vlogs are feeling repetitive. I changed up the format a little bit. I started being more creative with the titles of the videos, and just like the way that I structured the vlogs shifted a little bit, and I'm so much happier with the format. It felt so stagnant and I felt like they were just getting so repetitive and they felt the same in a lot of ways, and I really wanted to transform the vlogs to feel more like a video diary, which I hope that's how, you know, the vlogs feel like. And I feel like even just that transition has just helped spark my creativity again. So I feel like when it comes to staying consistently creative, it's like you have to know when you need a break. You have to know when to not create and not feel the pressure, and to give yourself the space to just be able to tap back into those sources of creativity. But you also have to be unafraid of like reinventing yourself and changing things up, like changing up the format of things or experimenting with things, because I feel like when you change things, that's when it like sparks that creativity again. And in general, what I have noticed for sure is that I find when it's the time when I'm spending too much time on social media and I'm not prioritizing quiet time like in my life, when I really start to feel creative burnout. So I think prioritizing, you know, quiet time in the morning to journal and just time off of social media, like really just cutting back on my screen time, really does help with creative burnout. I'm majoring in comp sci, but I really want to go to law school one day. Do you think it's okay? You can major in anything and still go to law school. That's the beauty of it, is like you can decide any point in your life you want to go to law school. You just have to take the LSAT and just get a good GPA. Favorite aspect of podcasting? Definitely just like the process of being able to just like translate my reflections or things that have been on my mind, my journaling, and just like translate that into an audio format. I really tried to focus this season specifically in making sure that my solo episodes really just feel like an oral diary, and I love that. I love that aspect of it. And then I also just love writing questions and like the process of doing research on guests whenever I have guests on the podcast too. That's always so fun. When I was younger and people used to ask me like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I would always say Oprah, because I always wanted to be in a position where I could have really cool guests on and like interview people. I feel like just the act of interviewing people is so fun to me. So I definitely love that aspect of it. And what was your favorite aspect of 2024? All of the moments that I got to celebrate with the people that I love, and all the times that I was surrounded by community. Like Ramadan was a really, really fun time. Graduating and then celebrating with the people that I loved was just also a really special time. And all of the Mishwara shoots, like all the shoots that we do are with our friends and like people that we love and admire and respect. And so all of those times just being surrounded by people have been so fun and are just honestly so special to me. What have you been using to study for the LSAT? I started off with 7 Sage and then I recently switched over to LSAT Demon. I've been using LSAT Demon since mid-September. So it's been about 2 months since I started using LSAT Demon, and I love LSAT Demon. I think if you're starting out, you could start on 7 Sage to get the basics, but I genuinely feel like LSAT Demon is the best platform out there for the LSAT. And once I'm done with the LSAT, inshallah, I will film a whole video going in depth of like the process, what I use to study, what I recommend, and all of that. But I want to wait until I'm like fully done with the whole process and I have some time to like reflect on it, so I can just give you guys all of my tips and advice. What languages do you speak, Pular or Arabic? So I understand Pular and Hassania, but I don't speak it well. I used to speak Hassani when I was younger, but I lost it. My parents both speak both. What is one thing you're looking forward to next year? Why was the first thing that popped into my head being done with the LSAT? Genuinely, that is it. There are so many things I'm looking forward to in 2025, but if I had to point to one thing, it's definitely being done with this journey and just being able to like move on to the next chapter of things. When's the next Mishwara restock? Follow us on mishwara.collective, because as soon as we know when we have a restock date, that is the first place that we announce it. Do you have any new design collections coming to Mishwara? We do. We actually have some in production right now, inshallah, and stay tuned for a upcoming drop. Those are all of your guys' questions. Thank you guys so much for sending in questions, just in general, for your guys' support. What are your guys' winter plans? Do you guys have any exciting travel plans? Subscribe if you guys are not already subscribed, and I will chat with you guys in my next one. Bye.